Well, hello everyone. I have right here. I'm talking about writing letters right here, and we're talking about the type of a letter writing, and like everybody might say, is to where that based on our experience, when we do write a letter, that that letter is going to be like what you call is like to where they're trying to remember what today's date is and all that. But still, each time you do think about that, and you're one of too that the first thing that you want to think about most of the time is what do you think the letter should start out with, and maybe what do you think that the letter could say and should say, and especially if you're going to be getting ready to go to a game, right? If it's going to be going to a basketball game or trying to get parents' permission to go somewhere or something like that, talk about for responsibility, right? And so I have right here, talk about for dear mom and dad right here, and but let's just say that if you were to start out with the letter by saying this to what I am at the game, which is very crowded, but I just want to thank you for letting me go to the game, and my friends are here, and they also want me to let you know that it was not so difficult just to be able to order the tickets. My friends do say that they also wanted to mention that a good win also means a lot to them, and I could not have done this without you. And so really, if you were to go ahead and write a sentence like that, but then here, right here at the bottom, you would say that answer a few basic questions to where that you can understand and explain. So really, how do you think that you would be able to find any sorts of responsibility about that? Like, let's just say that if you're going to be writing a letter talking about a simple thank you, or maybe if it's I could not have done this without you, or something like that. So if you were to say that something like, I could not have done this without you right here, and so really that each time you do think about that, and you're 102 that I could not have done this without you, and you're thinking is that when we do speak about responsibility, though, that it seems like to me that the sentence would start out with that just like I just want to thank you for so why like everybody might say that you think that the sentence could have started out with just by saying well, I wanted to thank you for the for the tickets, for the game tickets or something like that, but still that like everybody might say that whenever you're going to be writing a letter, for sure that you want to go ahead and try to put a little bit more detail into it, and for sure in case if the reader's going to be asking the questions, or maybe if they're going to be asking about, okay, can you explain what is going on or something like that, or can you really explain about the details about going to the game or something like that. So it sure seems that way that that whenever you do write a letter, that you're thinking is toward that you don't really spend a whole lot of time writing in all the details, explaining everything about what's going on, and so that's why it seems like that to where that every time you do think about a letter, and let's just say that you really you want to go ahead and start out the letter just by saying it's like a simple thank you, and hey, thanks for the tickets, it was much appreciated, but still you have right here to where I am at the game, which is very crowded right here. So really that why do you think anybody would start out a letter just by saying this to where I am at the game, which is very crowded, but I want to let you know that I want to thank you for the game tickets. I want to thank you for letting me go to the game. And so it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that, it seems like that what the letter is pretty much saying is to where that did you ask the parents' permission first before you went to the game, or did you decide to go ahead and go to the game anyhow before the parents knew about it, or something like that? And so it's like so each time you do think about that, and you're 102 that that whenever you do talk about responsibility here, and you're always 102 that you go ahead and write a letter to mom and dad right here but it's like, you always want to know too that you have to kind of like go back and forth and read this letter again over and over just to say as to it. Okay, yeah, that there's a difference between what the writer is trying to say and what the reader is trying to understand about the sentences here, and so that's why it seems like this to where each time you do think about that, and you're 102 that that the type of so far saying is that when we talk about responsibilities, right? But you're thinking this toward that why do you think that you go ahead and start out writing a letter like this right here, and 102 that you go ahead and mention right here, that a good win means a lot to them. A good win means a lot to them, and like everybody might say that you really want to try to make it simple to understand, right? And you're always 102 that why do you think that would be real difficult for anybody to understand? A good win means a lot to them, and so that's why it seems like as to where that everybody might say that if you're going to go ahead and write a full sentence about on that letter, it's going to contain it's going to show as to where I just want to thank you for your tickets or something like that, but still, answer a few basic questions to where that I can understand and explain. So it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that, and you're always 102, that I won't take up too much of your time, and I just want to take the time to write to you just to thank you for the tickets or something like that, or I'm like, yeah, so really, that do you think that maybe like I could not have done this without you, and I promise I promise I promise to be back on time. So it sure seems that way that every time we do think about letters and writing and so far called saying, that you do think about that a lot of times. Is that there's a difference between what you really are trying to say and what the reader is trying to understand about what you're talking about, and what you're trying to, how you're trying to word it, and that's why it seems like every time you do think about writing letters, a lot of times that you always 102 that why do you think that they are so difficult, just to be able to write the letter, and just to be able to even if it's just a simple thank you, just write a simple thank you letter to somebody, and you're always 102 that you go ahead and you write this letter right here, but it's like everybody might say that that maybe only about maybe five, only four sentences right here, only 4 paragraph sentences right here of what this is talking about right here. But then right here at the bottom, it's like is to where to answer a few basic questions to where that I can understand and explain. So at this right here, if the parents were to be reading this right here, and they might say is to where I don't quite understand what you're talking about here. You did not get my permission to go to the game for sure. Number one, that you say at the second paragraph or so of the sentence, but I just want to thank you for letting me go to the game. So anybody who's going to be writing a letter to their mom or to their dad, anybody, you might think as to where, really, that if you're trying to thank somebody for allowing you to go to this event or go to this party or something like that, and like everybody might say that, how do you think that this, thank you letter should start out with? And you might say as to where if you go ahead and start out the letter just by saying is to where I just want to thank you for letting me go to the game. And so really that so if you were to start out this letter by saying is to where it's getting very crowded, I want to let you know that the game I am at the game, which is very crowded. So it sure seems that way that the only time that you would really want to write, start out a sentence like that is as if you actually were there. If you were there at the game, and let's just say that you were at the game, but then you were writing to your mom and dad, and like, but I want to thank you for letting me go to the game. So it's almost like that. Whenever you do see a letter like that, that you would actually, you can actually tell that the person writing the letter is, they're at the concert or they're at the game, but they're just letting you know that they're taking the extra, minute, that opportunity to let you know where they are now and from where they're planning on going, or maybe anything else that's going to be on their mind for anything that they want to talk about, right? So every time you do think about responsibility, though, that you might think as to that there's ways on how the reader can kind of tell what's going on with what you're trying to say, what's going on in the mind about what you're thinking about. And you may not even thinking about it at first, but every time you do think about that in your 102, that there are ways that you can kind of tell. If you actually read the letter very clearly, that you can be able to tell a little bit about what's going on with whenever you do read a letter, is that to let you know that I am at the game, or thanks for letting me go to the game and all that. So really that so every time you think about a letter, though, that you might even think too that whenever we do talk about responsibility here, that we're talking about is that trying to make it simple to where that reader can understand it first of all, but still, it's like answer a few basic questions to where that reader can understand right here, and that's why it seems like as to where that each time you do think about that in your 102, really, what is so basic about it? And answer a few complicated questions. And everybody might say, unless if you want to go ahead and write down here at the bottom right here, talking about, answer a few complicated, answer a few complicated questions. So really, what is that really supposed to mean in case of anybody's 102, that, between a few basic, simple, basic questions to maybe a few complicated questions, that why do you think anybody would want to have that source of conversation, for sure, and you're always 102, that whenever you do think about that in your 102, that you go ahead and write a letter talking about, okay, you got the parents' permission just to be able to go to this party, to be able to go to this event and all that. But still, that you 102, that, if you were to start out the sentence by saying that, I want to thank you for letting me go to the game. But instead, you go ahead and start out the sentence by saying is to where I am at the game, which is very crowded. So everybody might say is to where, that, every time you do think about writing a letter to somebody, that it seems like that, that there are ways that reader can kind of tell what's going on with the situation, right? They can actually tell just by, how it was worded, and maybe about that anything that anything from earlier that was going on. But still, it's like, every time you do think about that in your 102, that why do you think, for any reason at all, that, why do you think that you would want to find anything, when we do talk about responsibility, right? And 102, that, really, when we talk about responsibility, for sure, it sure seems that way, that, you don't think about that whenever you're writing a letter, for sure. Whenever you do talk about responsibility, you want to think about fun. You want to think about the fun all the time, right? You don't really want to think about too much about, okay, I'm at the game, I'm at the party, I'm having a lot of fun. So really, that you really, whenever you do think about responsibility, you really want to think about fun. you want to think about the fun and excitement all the time, right? You don't really want to think about, okay, yeah, well, thanks for letting me go to the game. Or, yeah, ordering the tickets was very difficult or something like that. So every time you do think about that, you want to know too that, yeah, we all want to have fun for sure, but still, that it's like, you're always want to know too that whenever we do talk about fun, no, that you don't really think about things until maybe the very last minute, and that's why it seems like that every time you do think about that, you're 102 that yeah, that whenever you do write a letter though, for sure, you don't really spend a whole lot of time including 8 paragraphs or so what that letter is supposed to say. Like, okay, yeah, I just want to thank you. I'll be back later on or something like that. So it sure seems that way that, every time you do think about responsibility, why do you always think that, to where you can actually find a responsibility in a letter than compared to, okay, yeah, that, somebody's able to tell that you're taking care of those responsibilities just by watching you do, the work that you do, right? And so every time you do think about that, and you're thinking is toward it, yeah, there's a difference between what you're trying to say and what you're trying to, for how you want to word how you want to word your letter and all that, but still. So every time you write a letter, though, that you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, that if you want to just say thank you, then why didn't you just say I want to thank you for letting me go to the game, instead of saying at first is that yeah, I am at the game, which is very crowded. So what is that really supposed to tell the reader whenever you say that you're at the game and it's very crowded? I guess that pretty much means, like everybody might say, that kind of means is that you did not have your parents' permission just to be able to go to the game until you were able to talk to them about it. So yeah, so every time you do think about that, then you're thinking is toward yeah, a few basic questions toward I can understand, and that's maybe just a little bit of reasons why that everybody might say is toward it. You go ahead and talk to your parents about it first before you actually talk about going to the game. And everybody might say that, yeah, that's whenever those situations come up to where that, yeah, did you talk to mommy and daddy about it first before you went to the game? And, yeah, so it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're 102, that yeah, that when we do talk about responsibility and clarity here, that you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, I'll write you a letter. And but still, that when we do talk about responsibility, though, that what's the first thing that's going to come to your mind whenever you do talk about responsibility? Can you handle that? Do you think that you'll be able to take care of that? And what the rules are, the simple facts and the rules. And so yeah, so it's like, yeah, you go ahead and take care of something, but I think that the really Really, Micah, do you think that maybe the truth of the fact of the matter is that yeah, that you want to go ahead and try to impress, yeah, you want to show them like, yeah, and that's really, I think that that's really the actual factor of matter is that you want to go ahead and impress mommy and daddy with something. You want to go ahead and impress them, something that you've been wanting to show them what you're capable of doing, right? You want to impress them by something, you are capable of handling this. That you are capable, yeah, you are capable of handling this this responsibility. You are capable of handling this responsibility, and that is why it seems like that every time you do think about that you really just want to go out and have fun. You want to go out and have fun, I'm like, yeah, have fun all the time, and yeah, exclamation point right there. So every time you do think about that, then you're 102. That yeah, it's like you go ahead and write a letter, and let's just say that you'll answer a few basic questions to where I can understand. Right there, and so every time you do think about that, then you're always 102. Why is it so difficult just to be able to understand what this letter says right here? And if you were to read the details of this letter right here in full, you're always 102 that you take about maybe 2 minutes just to be able to write the letter, and let's just say that you go ahead and write the letter right here, and let's just say that if you were to put like maybe a few quotation or something like that, and yeah, it's very crowded, but still. So every time you do think about that, then you're always 102 that every letter that you do write, you always want to think that you don't take the extra time to include you only maybe write maybe 2 sentences, if anything. You don't write maybe 5 or maybe 8 sentences or anything like that. And like everybody might say that every time you do think about writing a letter, for sure that I'll be back on time, and I'll so more likely that anybody who's going to be writing a letter, something kind of like this, for sure, how often is it more common to where somebody's going to say that I promise I'll be back on time and I will explain the story later. So how often are you going to really hear that, for the most part, and whenever we do talk about responsibilities? And everybody might say that if you're going to be writing a letter, for sure, that do you think that maybe that like everybody might say that you go ahead and write a letter to somebody, for sure? But it's like, I am at the game, which is very crowded, but I just want to let you know that thank you for letting me go to the game, and I will explain the story later. So more likely, it's like, So it sure seems that way that that whenever you do think about letters, by the way, that the first thing that's coming to your mind is that I don't think that they're going to be reading the letter right away, so I can go and say what I want, and then I can go ahead and add a little bit later on, and then maybe 2 days later, maybe 3 days later, or something like that. I will explain the story later, or something like that. So it's like, so every time you do think about that, and you're always 102 that whenever you first started writing letters, by the way, that you don't really think about things until the very last minute. So it sure seems that way that every time you do think about that, and you're always thinking as to where that whenever you do write a letter, that do you think that maybe anybody, only I can see this, only I can realize this until somebody else is able to read this later on. Only I. Just because. But like everybody might say that if you were to go ahead and read this, may I go ahead and read it to a doctor or maybe read it to a parent, and for sure that that they would understand it a little bit more if you took the extra time to explain to them about what you were trying to say, and answer a few basic questions. So I guess to say that that's another reason why everybody might say that maybe not every letter is going to be written in detail, but still, do you think, I guess the question kind of goes by that, do you think maybe a letter about written like this is enough information just to explain to somebody about okay, what's going on? That's not the full story. That's not the full story. That's just a thank you letter or something like that, or I will explain later on. So every time you do think about that, you're 102 that every time you do think about a letter for how it's written, that when we do talk about explain, when we do talk about explain right here, that you're thinking as to where that, yeah, that, does that really look very professional whenever you do read it like that? And like everybody might say, yeah, I'll explain the story later. Only I can understand. And so if you got a lot going on, for sure, I mean, that's the chances are likely of that happening. But when we do talk about answer a few basic questions to where I can understand, I guess say that's what good parenting comes around, right? And so the way I think about that, when we do talk about letters, by the way, that it seems like is to where that, yeah, that when we do talk about responsibility, it's like, yeah, that they claim is to where that, yeah, that, I can understand, but you need to explain. And more likely, that would probably be something that maybe the teacher would probably say, right? They'll probably say to but you need to explain to me why you said that from earlier. So you see that, you may not see that all the time, but that's the way I think about it, is to where that when we do talk about conversations, by the way, that if we're talking about maybe a reader or maybe, somebody there at the party or something like that. So every time you do think about that, you always want to know, too, that why do you think most conversations, I'm like, I can understand, but you need to explain to me what this means right here, or you need to explain to me about that. And so I'm like, I can understand, but you need to explain. So every time you do think about letters, by the way, it's like, who's responsible for taking care of this, or who's responsible for explaining that situation? So it's like, so either way, it sure seems that way, that, you may think that a simple, one or two sentence letter by a thank you or something like that, thank you for letting me go to the game, explains it all. Well, apparently it don't. It does not explain all the details, so that's why it seems like that, really, I guess the best solution would be is to where, like everybody might say, that, you go ahead and just, if you really know, like, you can kind of tell just by how the letter was written, by the way, about exactly what was going on during the time. But like everybody might say, that really, if you were to go ahead and read the letter backwards, you can maybe try that too. Read the letter backwards and just kind of see, so you can tell maybe just a little bit of what was going on. You maybe highlight a word while you're reading. Go ahead and write, if there's any adjectives or verbs or anything like that included in that letter. But every time you do think about that, and you always want to know too, that why is it that maybe just want to thank you? Maybe a thank you means more than just one or two adjectives, or maybe verbal, or maybe if it's a genre or anything like that. So every time you do think about the source of writing, that you always want to know too, the why is it that it seems like it's saying two or three or maybe 4 or 5 different things. And maybe that's another reason why that a parent is going to ask a few basic questions as to whether I don't understand it. I didn't understand it until you were able to explain to me about what this was all about right here. But anyway, it's all about for good parenting, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.